If you don't know me, I'm Jenny Mulberg. I'm the editor-in-chief of Ploughshares. We're so excited about tonight, and thanks for all of you showing up. I mean, this is an amazing turnout. Many thanks to Trident, who is partnering with us on these launch parties, and we're just so excited to be here in this incredible space. And Trident will be selling books back here, so don't miss that. Books by our readers and copies of this amazing fall issue of Ploughshares. We're going to be back for our winter launch party on January 21st, where we'll have Alice Hoffman, wow, yay, Maggie Dietz, Shara McCallum, and Bridget Lowe. So we're really excited for that. Mark your calendar. So many thanks to our three incredible readers, our writers who are here tonight, and thanks to the amazing staff at Ploughshares. I'm just so lucky to work alongside you all for making tonight's launch happen. And this is my first official issue as editor-in-chief, so, thanks. Obviously, it takes a village, it takes a great team, and so I'm just so happy to be here. But I'm proud that it's this issue in particular because not only is it full of incredible writing, but also because long form is always such a special issue, and long form writing is dear to my heart. So I wanted to just read a really brief excerpt from my editor's note to this issue. In long form writing, as a reader, I can find shelter or surrender to memory and grief. I can move, like so many characters in this issue, into a new era of selfhood, evolved, meditative, and captivated by the beauty of great writing. I am invested in how moments of silence and long periods of stillness can bear testimony and reject hegemonic structures of power. In an era that prioritizes hustle and optimization and all that is fast-paced, sitting with a work of fiction feels almost radical. At a time when the very core of what we do is under attack, this act of listening, what lies at the heart of writing and reading, is a radical act. So thank you for being here and gathering with us to sit still with the work of these talented writers. Devon Walker-Figueroa, whose work I first came to know as a poet, writes into the unsettling psychology of families, those we're born into and those that we make. Heather Thompson-Brenner takes us into the wild, complicated terrain of love, how it crosses, complicates, and sometimes collides with societal boundaries. And Juliana Lamy, informally inventive and wildly original prose, brings us an epic story of a young woman working in orange groves, shaped by existential exhaustion, whose defiance leads to an unforgettable tale about self-liberation. So yes, the arts may be under attack, but in extraordinary acts of fiction like these, words unsettle, illuminate, and ask us to contemplate our essential utterances of humanity. I can't wait to hear them spoken aloud. So I'm going to start by introducing Juliana Lamy, our first reader, and then our staff members will introduce our other two fabulous readers. And I realize that I've made a faux pas and forgot Juliana's bio. Rachel. Our incredible managing editor, Rachel, if you don't know Rachel. Does. Juliana Lamy is a Haitian fiction writer from South Florida. She is the author of You Were Watching from the Sand short stories, winner of Red Hen Press 2021 Ann Petrie Award, winner of the 2024 CLMP Firecracker Award for Fiction, and longlisted for the 2024 Carol Shields Prize, as well as the 2024 OCM Bocas Prize for Caribbean Fiction. Please help me welcome Juliana.
I'm so excited to be here. I first became aware of Ploughshares because I was actually the student of Laura Vandenberg, who is an Emerson alum and an incredible fiction writer. Love her work, love her so much. And I'm so grateful to the Journal and everyone who has worked on this issue and all of the issues before, and all of the issues, all of the many issues to come. So I am going to be reading from a story called My Country Full of Thieves. This is set in northern South Florida, and I'm just gonna start from the beginning. Mia slept on a concrete floor, keloided with lumps of cement, and felt the cheapness and rush of the Chassun builders who poured down the foundation for a house in Portugal as a mess of tiny hills digging their summits into my back, a blanket under me and a sleeping 2-year-old Gigi puffing his baby dreams into my shoulder, and things in the dirt, clicking below us like the tumblers in a closing safe, like even the earth itself knows to lock up for the night in this country full of thieves. And me, I've slept on the seat of a moving autobus with the portrait of Selena Bidi Bidi Bom Bombing on the engine hood just out of my bleary sight, while someone or something ladled in careful, burnt orange helpings of afternoon light through the window where my head rested. And me, I've slept with my head on the skinny chest of the Chevalier houseboy, and felt the limbs of his heart drumming out loudly against the inside of his torso, let them kick my cheek as they jerked, still, with the what of what we'd done. And me, I've slept through a hurricane, assembled from the odds and ends of ocean thunderstorms and air so moist it glints like plastic wrap, and much, 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 much wind on some faraway sea, detonating its first artillery round of rain onto our thin, corrugated roof. And me, I've slept, mostly, through my own conscience, coursing me around the ribs, pruning a bunch of my breaths, after I've gotten sick of me, my uncle, and my siblings, Gigi and Jocelyn, spending 4 post-hurricane months underneath the sagging silver gills of our thin, corrugated roof. And I remembered the intricately gilded clock in the hallway right outside the Chevalier houseboy's room in the Chevalier house, how it ticked so slow it always seemed like it was slipping us extra minutes on the slide. And I'd stolen it, and sold it to the La Pointe Hospital, a 2-hour walk due east, the one staffed almost entirely by nice Cuban doctors who are intellectual sure shots when it comes to tacking your cough onto its cause, but whose scent scatters like a clutch of schoolboys caught with a 40 ounce of rum when it comes to anything else, up to and including going out to actually buy the clock they all agree the waiting room needs. I sold it with a grin bright enough to hoist a dead thing from its deep sleep. And c'est vrai, when my uncle told me that the Chevalier houseboy had been let go, fired, first from the job, then like cannon shot over the Hispaniolan partition and into Saint-Domingue, where he now sells helado de guayaba in Punta Cana. For stealing, yes, stealing, Dominique. I've always said we needed better friends. Es que c'est pas vrai. And me, I've slept very well despite myself, with Jocelyn's big toe skimming infinity symbols into my scalp, from how her leg dangles off the narrow twin bed so close to my and Gigi's blanket, under the new roof I bought, with the clock money, a roof not of skimpy pleated aluminum, but of good sturdy metal, crimped in a southern Delma factory, each one of the 4 of us waking up periodically to turn onto our backs, bellies to God, and make some happy little sound at the sight of the roof still there and unslackened, waking up everybody else in the process. And me, I slept on the raft, but me, I've never slept half as shittily as I do in the Wachula orange orchard. Whenever I leave the other workers to take my naps, I do it in the afternoon between 2 and 3. It's while the trees in whatever section of the orchard we're working are still flickering gaudy all over with unpicked oranges, and everyone else is sweating hard and through their shirt backs or their pant inseams or the bandanas under their baseball caps, from a heat that's reasserted itself after bearing its neck real docile in the morning to North Florida's front of the day cold. Ananda, so much older than me and so ferociously, unrelentingly, disturbingly patient with me, that she slots into the softest parts of my mind and soul as a sort of surrogate understudy grandma, says that the cold comes from the trees. Not the orange trees, but the much taller ones that surround the orchard almost entirely. They bring it completely, those much taller trees, if not for the entrance exit of the dirt road at the far western edge of the orchard that the harvesting trucks take. When you're walking towards the orchard, and you see that road striping coffee with lots of milk light through a greenery so rich it looks wet to the bone, even when it hasn't rained for days, you'd think that the top tooth of a comb had just been dragged through the center of the property, nuding pebbly scalp. Me, I've had most of my superstitions marshaled up single file and skewered by the sharpest ends of my real life. It's a bit hard to care too much about what's happening over there when there's enough happening over here. And I've never had much of that thing, that Haitian thing that turns your vision nomadic on or inside of your body, so that you're seeing with the big toe or the tip of your nose or the lines of your palms or the ache anchored at your lower back when your eyes are missing some strangeness ahead. But even I sometimes look up at those trees at a certain angle, and sometimes in the cluster of disoriented seconds after I've stumbled down a harvesting ladder with my burlap full of fruit. And I would bet anything that I'm watching the chill Ananda talks about arc sinewy from treetop to treetop. I promise I catch the many fibers of it cross-stitching tightest into chalky little dolls of skinless muscle that dismount their branches to dive toward us. There's no tipping my head back to look at those taller trees when I'm this high up, though. If I count on a hand the number of things I'm afraid of, heights takes the pointer finger and the thumb. And right now, like an out-of-practice tennis player, I know my form is shit. My chest's a bit too far away from the treetop, even though Ananda and everybody else has told me to keep my legs steady on the ladder, but to bend forward, lean in close, so that if the ladder slips or cracks on either side rail, and that second outcome becomes likelier the deeper we burrow into fall and winter, because Campbell's cheap wooden ladders absorb humidity and splinter when the detained water turns to ice. If that happens, you can catch yourself on a branch or several instead of falling. Hold on as long as you can, if you can hold on at all, until somebody else comes to get you. A single glance into the mostly empty bag reminds me that it's not that heaviness that's got me swaying. I know that. I stand on the center rung of the flat wooden ladder with the burlap strap digging hard into my back and shoulder. There's something else digging into that shoulder too. I glance up just briefly. Gael stares down at me from a neighboring tree whose leaves are as broad as the palms of children. And she keeps staring as the wind makes them pat her arm for attention. Her bag's mostly full. I can tell by the distended canvas. But she's not trembling with the weight. I'd be trembling. She's only a few years older than me at 23, but when she watches me over the mantle of her wide, pretty nose and lips, close flung still from the cleft upper lip Bonai doctors repaired as a baby, she might as well have helped put up an ancient Egyptian pyramid or two. She's so old. I can't stand that look, like any other look that plucks off several of my limbs and turns me smaller than myself. And so even through the nausea raising itself up Tower of Babel high in my belly, I suck my teeth and I say, where is it sprouting from? What? You must be searching for the next orange branch to pick, because I know you're not looking at me like that. So where is it sprouting from? Ears, nose, pussy. I say the last one in Creole because Gael's one of those born again, then again, Port-au-Prince Christians who'll skate a little off the top of whatever fried griot stand or doo-doo shop or airport restaurant she works at for the month when she goes back to Haiti with the other guest workers, but draws and redraws the line for immorality at cursing in Creole especially. Because there's something about swearing in the first language you could sing in that chains it down as of your blood. If you love it, you really love it. If you hate it, you really hate it. Nika, you know how I feel about that rough language. It's just a word. It's obscene, ungodly. God doesn't speak Creole. We're safe from notice. Gael's frown moves her trio of nose, lip closer to her chin. Careful, girl. Don't let your mouth outrun your sense. You'll wind up in some shit you've never seen before messing with him. She turns back to her tree and her picking. Without even glancing at me, she adds, don't stand on the rung with the balls of your feet like you're doing. The way you are now, I could say boo and you'd fall right down. You gotta grip it with your arches. It's not until Gael's taken her eyes off me and her voice off of me that I realized just how much our conversation had been keeping me upright. I try to apply her advice, but I'm heating up terribly under a mid-afternoon sun that's somehow still inching jerkily, it seems to me, higher into the sky on a bad, slow hydraulic lift. It's the nausea that mutes my limbs, chokes out the low-grade skin hum that normally tells me I'm feeling something or at the very least ready to. It's the nausea, so that I get off that ladder like an astronaut clambering onto a nickel-gray moon. Oh, sorry. This happens. It's just a biological thing. I'm not driving myself to tears. My eyes water. Not quite that narcissistic. Right. There's damp grass there, beneath my feet, and a feral ground that bucks and bucks till I'm tempted to fall to my knees and search for the back of this rough green-furred thing, tempted to throw my legs on either side of it to ride out this moment. I do none of that. Here's what I do. Leave the flat ladder leaning against the treetop. Kick through oranges crushed into squat discs. Find the pale brown road that the cone left. Knock a knee against one of the giant white collection crates at the side of the road, the one closest to us. Unhook the snaps at the bottom of the back to add my contribution to a pile already so large I could stick my arm in up to the elbow. Don't stand as long as I want to in front of this bin or the other ones. Don't watch the pounds of fruit make the bins glow steady candlelight colors from the inside out. Resist the beauty. Resist it. Easy enough. Walk not too quick, not too slow beneath a concave ceiling of knowing stares and eye rolls and teeth sucking from Milan, Assange, Junior, Marcelo, Gael, and all of the other workers still in the trees. Keep walking through rows of trees who wear their good health as vivid green ruffles right at the top of their spines. Find the two shacks at the eastern edge of the orchard, the one with the outhouse and just enough yards away so as to be acceptable. The one with the lunch fridge and the wood chairs no one sits in unless they're really, really gunning for an ass full of splinters that day. Go to that second one. Go around back. Wait for the creeping vines at this edge of the property to lasso my ankles as I walk. Break them. Find the upturned stack of spare collection crates beside the drippy green generator. Climb inside. Will a blanket out of what's left of the daylight and tug it up to my neck. The thing is, I'm fine in the morning, when we're still on solid ground. In the first half of the day, we clear the trees that bear their weight low, the ones with boughs that hang low enough to swab the ground with waxy leaves. I'm fine then. But around 3 p.m. every day, we climb. So around 3 p.m. every day, I sleep. The nights around here come down as the darkness thick enough to chew. Jocelyn's never liked the dark. The Moya section Uncle Nico and I sent her to when she was 5 had an anatomy lesson that spent a bewildering amount of time on how the body's organs are technically suspended in pitch darkness. So ever since then, Jocelyn's been afraid that all our skin, hers and ours, might slump down like a drop curtain in the nighttime, that we could wake up from some dream to find ourselves leaching liquid-like into the evening. That's why we used to let her sleep on the only bed in the house, before I got up here and sent back enough money to fund 2 more for Gigi and my uncle. The raised bed was closest to the spot on the wall where the most moonlight, taking the steady, angled route of a parasailer, muraled the cement in porcelain, eggshell, ivory white. Sometimes I'd wake up to find Jocelyn fully asleep, turning her face side to side in the light. Strange kid. Sick for the past week or so with a fever that refuses to break. She'd lose her mind up here. I wake up to the darkness, still inside the crate, but I know it can't be late. My naps only ever last 3 hours at the longest. For a few moments, my only sightlessness has me working my jaw, that nausea from before rearing up toward my sternum brick by brick. Then the hand comes, flat against my cheek, its skin rougher than a leather harvesting glove. If you keep sleeping with your neck like that, girl, you'll be talking over your shoulder for the rest of your life. Coupa fait mal? Here, get up. Ananda takes me by the shoulders and does most of the get-up work before I can think to twitch a single muscle. Ow, auntie. There's a whininess to my voice like this. I feel the 2 words I've spoken, and they're lined with the long, slow of blood-drunk mosquitoes. I sound very young, as I often do around Ananda, and I'm not sure how to like it yet, so I take both my hands and press down hard on my voice till it's low, till it sounds more like it does when I'm speaking Creole. I don't know how any of the oranges you pick make it into the bag unbruised with a grip like that. I'm careful when I need to be. Careful with you too just now. A different kind of careful. Careful. I could have kicked the side of the box and woken you up like that. See? Careful. I'm sitting French finishing school straight, like there's diagonal beams propping me up at my lower back, and I'm waiting for Ananda to say her latest thing about my sleeping, about this latest blowing off of work. Once, she found me and told me, the fridge in the break room leaks like information from a Port-au-Prince government conference room. And the water comes out into the grass back here sometimes. You'll want to move your crate a little farther away. And once she told me, breadfruit, if you eat it with the peel and all, will keep you awake for as long as you need it to. It's the bitterness on the tongue, prods you right awake. I used to chew it all the time when the boys got sick and wouldn't let me go to sleep for nothing. And once she told me, shouting like Ananda shouts, which is to say raspy and not so loud, a voice with potholes in it where volume dips and ducks out of notice at random. A voice punctured all over from a childhood she spent, Andeo, the rural north, Bas-Saint-Vallée, climbing her rooftop with her parents and 3 sisters and shout singing for 2 or 3 straight hours. Merci bon Dieu, gardez qui j'en la vie sa vini pour nous. Into the night to startle the flying, baby-eating skin changers, the baka, right off their terrible night routes. She's shouting at me. What are you running from so hard and so fast that you got so tired, huh? And once she found me and said, listen, listen. And so I listened with her to the wind roughing of tree leaves and fruit-gorging raccoons dragging their fat bodies through dead grass, and the tune of the crickets, which I swore followed the path of a perfect Nike checkmark from ladle to tip as it screeched upward past several octaves into its crescendo, as if the bugs were looking out at the night and giving their approval. Listened, to night noise knitting up the different parts of itself, even though the thing it made would disappear under sunlight in the morning, and things falling so deeply in love with one another that they would borrow one another's throats to speak. The raccoons bared their teeth and let out the sound of rustling leaves. A creek nearby stole cricket song. Ananda and I listened, and then we left, and we went home. Now, Ananda tips her head to the side, the motion-sensing fluorescent bulb beside us holding the sharp features of her face in a steady glow. And she says, "They're about ready to throw you into a river, child." I get up and do my best to hide the way I twist my neck a little to pop a crick out of it. I climb carefully out of the box, one wobbly leg at a time as I say, "Who's ready? Who's ready?" You're blessed with abundance. The men, the women, their children, probably, if they talk about you at home like they talk about you here. Their house cats, if they're listening. "Ah, Auntie, it can't be as bad as all that. Besides, if they threw me in the river, you'd roll up your pant legs and climb in to pull me out, right?" Ananda crosses her wiry arms, bare even in this cold, and kisses her teeth. "I can't swim, silly girl. And what about my sense of self-preservation, huh? This isn't some Greek tragedy." She jerks her chin at me just slightly. Be serious with me for a moment here. Do you have any idea how much they don't like you? It's a good thing I get paid in those damp-ass dollars Campbell stuffs into envelopes every week, not old lady lip. They don't have to like me. When's the last time you ate a lunch you brought here yourself? I am not superstitious. The ways in which the old aunties and uncles and even some of the younger workers look at the world, those ways are teeming with heart-lurching color. If someone sweeps their broom over your feet, you will never marry. If someone puts their foot on the leg of your chair as you're sitting in it, you will get a terrible stomach ache. Don't walk on your knees or your mother will die. Don't walk in the house with only one shoe on, or your mother will die. Don't play with your shadow, or it will chase you home and smother you, and then your mother, and then she will die. But colorful or no, most of these things blanch bone white in my vicinity. Most. I thought the food-based ways, the food-based superstitions, the cursing powder ways, are no different. I've trained in knocking fear flat on its back, belly to God. How could the terror of the cursing powder stand up to me? Go to some patch-bearded voodoo priest, or some voodoo priestess with plump, perfumed arms, and have them consecrate ground herbs by invoking one of the fiercer voodoo law, one of the ones closest to blood and steel and dead white people. Have them strike viable for you powder that can rot a person from the inside out from simple ingestion. The decay so perfect that even the skin on the outside of that person's stomach turns black as electric cable, as good leather as the space between planets. So what? So what, I thought, after I opened the break shed, fridge to find the lid of my Tupperware container not so snug as I'd left it, though the stewed okra and sauteed beef tips were still resting on their bed of cornmeal, and everything was exactly as I'd arranged it. And when I came in to find my orange Fanta with its tab open, but its can still full, I still had that terror on its back. So what? The orange sauce of my chicken and sauce is trickling over and down the side of my once covered bowl. So what? The full around my sweet potato bread has a few more wrinkles than it did that morning. So what? For some naps taken behind a shed, no longer than 2 hours, ever, for my moments of truncated sleep. When everyone else, even Milan, thin as a candle wick and liable to complain to a desert about its sand, cannot pick me anyway. And they weren't even trying to hide their tampering with these smoking gun-ass attacks. I thought laxatives, onion salt, fish oil, dirt. I thought tiny amounts of Roma powder detergent, baby piss, crushed ants, lotion, a fingernail's worth of the Blue Magic hair pomade. In the dark, in the crate sometimes. I thought arsenic from the glass bottle processing plant down the street. I did not think cursing powder, because I am not superstitious. Because on the whole, if you really consider it, I am harmless, just a bit lazy, and who rots a person from the inside out for a bit of laziness? I didn't think cursing powder until leaving Campbell's orchard one day in November with the other workers, and Assange gave me that kiss. We carpool here in 3 cars. Uncle Gino's minivan, Junior's silver 4Runner, and Auntie Bettina's Tundra pickup. On the one day in November, I watched the other workers climbing onto the bed of the pickup truck, Ananda included, and I waited for my turn. I was last. Assange was helping people climb on, crouching on the bed with his jean jacket bunched at the stomach and his sneakers unlaced, stretching out a hand and helping them up. When it came to be my turn, he dropped his hand. And before I could bend down a bit and jump onto the bed myself, hands braced against the jutting lip of the unlatched back panel, Assange pulled the panel back up. Looking right at me. He was looking right at me. He stretched an arm out over the side of the pickup and patted the metal with his palm, twice, loud. The signal that Auntie Bettina could go ahead and drive off, because everyone was on. Auntie Bettina heeded the signal, and the truck took off. Its backlights riled into their reddish oranges, and from where the back tires of the truck scoured into the ground, oblong clouds of dust crept skyward like breaths of the earth, like breaths the earth could hold no longer. The dark at 5 p.m. was still tentative and mesh-like, even in November. So I saw Assange pucker his lips toward me, the kiss. I think I heard the little smacking noise it made, slotted in somewhere between the sound of the truck motor running and the sound of me grinding my teeth. Some of the people in the truck bed turned to him and nodded. Then they turned their heads to me and just looked. It was a moment before Ananda, sitting on one of the arched wheel cutouts, realized what had happened. But when she did, she took her red and white lunchbox from her lap and stood as steady as she'd be off the bed of a moving truck. Then she leaned over and smacked Assange upside the head, right at the back where it becomes crown. So hard, I actually heard it. And I smiled a bit at the dull, flat sound neutered of any echo. And then she walked right up to the truck window, still balanced, as she'd be on level ground. She banged the window and it slid open under her palm, and she said a single thing. The truck came right back for me. I do remember the last time I ate a lunch I brought here myself. It was boiled plantain and chicken still crackling, steaming on its bone. I was 5 weeks, or it could have been 6, off the raft, and still puzzling the workers who'd been born here in the States with how well I could speak English. Because very few of them know about the typical Haitian school's linguistic trident, French in the middle prong and English and Spanish to flank it, until I told them. Gael and I upended buckets out in front of the brake shed and made seats out of them and ate like that. Okay, I say to Ananda now. Okay, I am Argentina's soccer team. I have no fans here. But the season's up in June, so 3 more months to go, right? June, sooner. Campbell's gotten a contract. Oh, don't look at me like that, child. There are no secrets in this city. The contract Campbell's just gotten with some Vero Beach juice company would make Scrooge McDuck tear his feathers out from jealousy. He wants half of this place picked clean by April. Okay, so I'll be fine till April. You'll be fine. Why are you talking like you'll never see these people again? I falter, unsure. I can tell by her phrasing that there's something I haven't accounted for, something I'm forgetting. I feel years flaking off my voice when I insist. I won't. Nika, this is a crew. We move from region to region together, remember. North Carolina for the grapes, Alabama for the blackberries. Some Septembers we get up to Maine in time for the apples in the orchards outside of Bar Harbor. Some folks go off on their own, sure, but it's better when we move together. Bosses can't push you around as much. We talked about this, Nika. How have you forgotten? I'd absolutely forgotten. But despite that, I say, no, I didn't forget, Auntie. I think for a moment about how well, shockingly well, the orchard jobs pay when drawn up against anything else willing to take on a pigeon-toed Quodipeg girl with no papers. Gigi and Jocelyn have had several months of uninterrupted schooling. Uncle pays for everything else, and Gigi and Jocelyn attend their school and their school respectively every day. Not a single day missed so far. If all else fails, I'll just stay here, I say. Some of the houses must be hiring. Ananda raises a sparse brow. You? You're going to yes ma'am and yes sir your way through your days? While white families ask for them? I see you knocking yourself out on purpose with a bleach ammonia concoction by the end of the first week. Come on, Auntie. I could work at a house here if I needed to, if I had to. But you don't have to, Auntie. Look, the way things are now, you've made most people here mad enough to leave you come June. They've been talking about it. And you? I ask. Jesus, I sound like a goddamn child. Ananda's face goes softer, even as she says, and whenever they bring it up, I tell them to dive into the dirt and play dead till the devil buys it. Auntie, I say, but I'm laughing. But girl, there's only so much I can do alone. They want to leave without you. They really, really do. And I don't want you around here by yourself. So stay with me then. I know it's unfair, I'm thinking. I know that Ananda has her boys, the two who still speak to her, just like I have Gigi and Jocelyn to think about. I know she's about $500 away now from affording the Chausom smugglers, who will bring her last 2 sons stateside, the same smugglers who'd brought the first 3 over for about half their current asking price. Inflation, Auntie, it's a killer, you understand. But I'm a thief at heart from my country full of thieves, and I know anything at all, if I know anything at all, it's that fair weighs nothing against a good feeling. Since I got here, Ananda has carted in almost nothing but good feelings from me. I'm not staying, Ananda says, even though neither she nor I really need to hear it said, and neither are you. So, you want me to make up with these people? The fluorescent bulb beside us, dropping a circle of light round as a vinyl record into the grass immediately below it, begins to flicker. In the watery width of light, Assange crouches on the back of Auntie Bettina's truck, kissing and kissing at me. No, Ananda says, and it's immediate, and I relax my shoulders. This isn't a Bible story either, so this isn't some turn the other cheek bullshit. They tried to hurt you. If things were different, I'd help you hurt them back. For now, though, you need them. Act like you need them, girl. Work like you need them. Stay awake. Woman up. It's Carolina next. Do you hear me? Thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. That was fantastic. You're welcome. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Algren, and I am... Oh, someone said hello. Hello. I am the editorial associate of Readers at Ploughshares. And I am so excited to introduce Heather Thompson-Brenner tonight, whom I not only had the pleasure of corresponding with during our 2025 Emerging Writers Contest, for which Heather was one of our gracious, hard-working readers, but whose piece, Junk Truck, has stuck with me ever since I first read it. There's a use of language in Junk Truck that's so sharp, so precise, and yet so unique that no read-through of it is quite like the one before. It's evident on each page that Dr. Thompson-Brenner knows these characters well. They're real, authentic, and flawed. I can't wait to hear some of Junk Truck read aloud tonight. Heather Thompson-Brenner, who's over there again, I'm sorry, I'm gesturing over here because there she is a clinical psychologist and emerging writer in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She received her MFA in creative writing in 2024 from Boston University, where she received the Saul Bellow Prize and the Leslie Epstein Global Fellowship for Fiction. Previously, she attended Harvard University and the University of Michigan. Dr. Thompson-Brenner is working on her first novel, Feast of Fools, which is set in 1981 in a liberal Christian commune. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Thompson-Brenner.
Thank you, Matt. That was so beautiful. I'm completely fulfilled. And thank everybody for coming to the reading. It's delightful. And to Ploughshares, amazing Ploughshares, for publishing this work and for inviting me to read. It's such a treat. Oh, hi, Joan. So this story is very long, as are many of the stories, and so it was fun to choose what exactly to read to you. And I'm going to read from the very beginning, and then I'm going to skip ahead to a later point. And the things that you might need to know, aside from what I'm reading, is that the narrator, Melinda, has just left a long-term relationship and jumped into a new long-term relationship for which she's realizing that she's not exactly ready. And she has developed an escape fantasy, which is to buy a pickup truck. And she thinks she could either drive to the desert, where she could get a job working at a spa, or else she could use it to pick up discarded furniture on Brattle Street on trash day, which she could use to furnish her eventual home. The year I turned 30, I broke up with my fiancé and began dating the man I would eventually marry. I didn't break up with Ajay because our relationship was bad, though it was pretty bad by the end. I broke up with him when his parents wouldn't accept me because I wasn't Indian. I remember the year in great detail because the events were so dramatic, but also because I was in psychoanalysis 4 times a week. I was poor as a psychology intern, and I could only afford psychoanalysis as a training case. My brand new analyst took copious notes in every session for meetings with his own supervisor, which I assumed were riddled with distortions, like the invisible signs of my Oedipal infatuation with him. In retaliation, I scribbled my own notes immediately following every session in a diary that I kept in my briefcase. I didn't anticipate how crazy it would make me to suffer the end of a 5-year relationship while simultaneously forging a new, lifelong romantic alliance. It was like jumping from one speeding train across the tracks directly into another, hurtling in the opposite direction. That's not the only metaphor I crafted for my peculiar and painful predicament. According to my notes, it also felt like Ajay and I had been swept away by a tsunami, which had delicately placed me on a tropical beach with Abe. I was heartsick when I wanted to be besotted. The past and future were two sides of a vise screwed tightly against my head. And then some Romani guys sold me a truck. All the ads on Craigslist for trucks were from one guy named George, so I called him. The MapQuest directions to the address he provided led to a dingy side street near the Charles, an alleyway I had never noticed before. The storefront on the corner boasted a neon sign, too shiny and pink for its surroundings, the tracing of an eyeball and the words, "Psychic Readings." I shivered. The worn Carhartt jacket and cargo pants I had chosen as befitting a future truck owner were too thin for the weather. A black Mercedes sedan blew past me and parked illegally by the storefront. A young man, gangly and olive-skinned, exited the passenger seat. He held out his palm to catch a wan snowflake. The driver, who was shorter, exited with palpable authority. He stated an order in an unfamiliar language, and his compatriot loped away. "Are you George?" I asked. He nodded without meeting my eyes and rather officiously pulled the hood of his puffy jacket over his shoulder-length curls. He looked down at his pristine loafers. Up the block, a garage door rattled open. I felt weirdly alive. George waved me to the garage. A small, slightly battered truck sat neatly in the left bay. "It's white," I said. "You don't want white," George said, with a slight accent. "I thought the ad said it was black," I said. "We can paint it," George said, "or I can find you black." The younger man clattered up the back stairs. "I'll go say hi to Sana," he said. George remained a respectful distance away from me. "Can I drive it?" I asked it. "I'll back it out," he said. He took a white handkerchief from his pocket and carefully wiped the toes of his shoes, and then the velour seat behind the wheel. The vehicle rumbled as it reversed to the street. The way it sat near the curb, vibrating slightly, it looked like a rescue dog wagging its tail. When I climbed in to drive, George pressed himself against the opposite door. "What's the smell?" I asked. "Professional cleaning," George said. I passed my hand across the dash, making tracks through the thick layer of dust. George shrugged. I rubbed the dirt on my legs, shifted into first gear, and carefully drove around the block. I liked the feeling of the tiny cab, the headrest pressed up against the back window. An older man walked by with a yellow dog, both dappled with fluffy flakes. In front of the garage, the younger man was stamping his feet on the sidewalk. "Do you live here?" I asked George. "No." Then he added, "My sister." He rolled down the window. "Go inside, stupid." "Is that your brother?" George nodded. "What's his name?" He looked at me suspiciously. "Are you guys Indian?" I asked. He shook his head. "Pakistani?" A moment passed. "Romani," he finally said. "Gypsies." "Is gypsy like a bad word now?" "We can call ourselves that, like Indians." "You mean Native American Indians, not Indians from India?" He nodded his head slowly, like I was being stupid on purpose. "So your sister is a psychic," I said. "You want the truck?" "I love the truck." I patted the seat beside me, my new pet. He said, "I'll get you something better, a little BMW maybe." "No, I definitely want the truck." "You don't want white." "I can totally live with white. I'll get one with no smell." "The smell doesn't bother me." George shrugged. $800. "Should I get it checked out by a mechanic first, maybe tomorrow?" "Okay, you pay for that though," George said. George's brother remained on the sidewalk watching us and blowing on his hands. I wish I could invite him to sit in the back seat, but there was none. The mechanic, Bob, had an office off Somerville Avenue. As he printed the report, George stood outside. I knocked on the window and waved to him to come in, but he shook his head. "Is that the guy selling the truck?" Bob asked. "Yes," I said, "George." Bob placed the pages on the counter. "It looks pretty good, probably garage, the rust's not bad. How much is he asking?" "How much is it worth?" George shrugged. "They probably got it for a few $100. If they're the kind of guys I think, they probably won't pay taxes." Why do you say that? A lot of these guys buy and sell cars, Bob said. They get busted every once in a while. I thought this might explain why George had stayed outside. I took the report with me to negotiate. It looks great, I said. I got the title in my car. I can make out a bill of sale. George took small steps through the snow across the street to his sedan. His brother jumped out and threw a cigarette in the gutter. George leaned over to open the glove compartment, but he seemed reluctant to reach across my lap. I turned my knees sideways to give him space. Can I bum a cigarette? I asked the brother, now in the back. Sure, he shook one out. What's your name? I said. Macham, he said. Or Mo. Macham, I repeated. George said, I said 800, but I'll take 6 if you pay cash. That's great, I said, but I don't have cash with me. What are you doing now? Going to a dealer auction, Macham said. You should come, maybe see a little BMW. I want the truck, but can I come with you anyway? George made a dismissive face. You wouldn't like it. I bet I would. You could take me to a bank machine. No, I don't think so. Okay, so when can I meet you? Macham said, do you like Olive Garden? George looked irritated. I love Olive Garden, I said, although I'd never been. I don't want to make any trouble for you, I added. I'm just lonely. I was engaged to this doctor whose parents are from India, and they wouldn't accept me, so we had to break up. I was hoping they'd see I wasn't part of some IRS sting operation, but I also wanted them to know about my sadness. Where's Olive Garden? Burlington Mall, Macham said. George nodded decisively. You bring the cash tomorrow, he said. 500. You said 600, I said. Fine. See you there, 12 o'clock. I called in sick to work. The sun cast a gray sheen on the dirty snow, plowed into banks against the parking strips. The Olive Garden was built to look like a miniature Italian villa with a pitched roof and widely overhanging eaves, though the stones in its walls were somehow the wrong color. As I got out of the taxi, I heard folksy-sounding music, guitars, and rapid singing. The fact that Olive Garden piped welcoming tunes into the mall parking lot was delightful. George and Macham stood next to a wrought iron bench in a small concrete courtyard circled by bedraggled shrubs. Macham waved. You're here! This is my favorite restaurant. He held open the wide wooden double doors, also subtly the wrong shade of brown, and waited politely. The restaurant was nearly full, which surprised me. The waitress led us to a table in the middle of the room. I sat opposite the two men, who laid their napkins in their laps. Macham ordered a strawberry Bellini from the waitress. It's made with real strawberries, he said to me. You want a drink? George asked. I ordered white wine, and George a Miller Lite, and the waitress nodded perfunctorily. The salad and breadsticks arrived immediately. My drink was the perfect cheap vintage, tasting of wine with no notes of anything else. Macham held up an implement, giant scissors made of spoons, with which he served me salad, iceberg lettuce, grated carrots, and thin purple strips of cabbage and onion. The rubbery olives possessed almost zero olive flavor, but were pleasingly tangy. Do you guys sell a lot of cars? I asked. Yeah, lots of cars, George said. Macham asked, what's your job? I'm a psychologist, I said, almost. I'm in training. I do therapy. With crazy people, Macham asked. Yeah, some of them. George asked, who's the craziest you've seen? I have one patient who thinks she talks to ghosts. You don't believe her, he said. I kind of do. Her wife is a psychic. Macham said, are they Romani? George said, they aren't Romani, they're lesbians. They could be Romani, Macham argued. They could be Romani, Macham argued. Not if they're married to each other, George said. Are a lot of psychics Romani? I asked. Yes, Macham said, but not like in the movies. They're spiritual counselors. Could I meet your sister? I asked. No, you can't meet her, George said. The rejection stung, but it also felt oddly correct. I have a therapist, but I think he's judging me, I said. My sister would judge you, Macham laughed, drinking with strange men in the middle of the day. But it's you. She judges me too, he said. She thinks I should get married. He goes out at night to the clubs and flirts with Eurotrash girls, George said. He pretends he's Middle Eastern because they hate Romani. Not all of them, Macham said. George said to me, you got a taste of that, right, from your Indian boyfriend's parents. Your boyfriend didn't care you were white, Macham said. He grew up with white girls in Florida, I said. So he's like him, George gestured towards his brother, wanting what he can't have. Maybe so, I said, draining my glass. Macham signaled to the waitress for a refill. I barely touched my ziti, loving the free appetizers. George deliberately speared a shrimp scampi and twirled pasta onto each forkful, wiping his mouth between bites. Macham praised the large portions. By the end of the lunch, I was buzzed, full, and relaxed. I looked around the pleasant company at Olive Garden, some obviously from offices, others as uncategorizable and unimaginable as George and Macham and me. I thought how busy we all were, me and Ajay and Abe, how little leisure we afforded ourselves. I was amazed that in all the Olive Gardens all over the country, people were just enjoying unlimited salad and breadsticks with remarkable freedom. Do you want the check? The waitress asked. A dark cloud passed over my buzzy, sunny field. The obligation to do math, split the bill, calculate the tip, deflated my expansive feeling. I remembered we were there on business. I guess I should give you the money for the truck. I felt around in my purse for that particular sized envelope banks provide for withdrawals. You brought cash, Macham exclaimed, rubbing his hands together. This is excellent because I'm on a lucky streak. We're going betting. George's eyes brightened at the sight of the envelope as well. The truck is here in the parking lot. I would love to come with you, I begged. Couldn't we come back and get it later? George didn't say no. I have to make a few calls, he said. I have to call someone too, I said. Is there a payphone? Who are you going to call? Macham asked. This guy is waiting to hear from me. Ha! You have a new boyfriend already, he crowed. I bet he's white. He's Jewish. Macham nodded approvingly. You can use mine, he said, fishing it from his pocket. When I reached Abe, he sounded far away. Where are you? He asked. I'm getting my truck. How are you doing? I should get you a cell phone, he said. No thanks, I said. My Aunt Rhoda died. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. It's okay. She's been sick a long time. It was pretty peaceful. I guess that's good. I miss you. My parents want you to come to the funeral. What? No, I'm sure they don't. Yeah, they'd love to add something happy to the occasion. My cousins, too. Okay, well, when you know when it is, I'm really sorry. It's tomorrow. Can you call later tonight? I have some things I have to take care of when I get the truck. Oh, okay, of course, do whatever you have to. Back with George and Macham, I felt more relieved than guilty. I wanted another drink, maybe two, and a long stretch of time with no obligations. So who's the new guy, Macham asked. He's a doctor. He just invited me to his aunt's funeral. What's he like? He's always inviting me to things like that. Before we even started dating, he asked if I would pick him up after eye surgery. Well, he definitely needed a ride, Macham said. I wish I could just run away for a while. George said, you're the same person wherever you go. That's not what you'd expect a Romani guy to say, I said. Well, a gypsy should know, he said. The Mercedes headed north through the urban outlands, Everett, Revere, Peabody, where various highways crisscrossed the rivers. I pretended we were lost. Macham and George led me through another parking lot to a set of glass double doors and up a dark staircase. Macham jogged ahead. He's not on a lucky streak, George said. He's just an optimist. I followed them through another set of shaded doors into a 20 by 20 room with low ceiling and no windows. Television screens spanned the tops of the walls, each displaying a different racetrack. The room smelled of ancient cigarettes, and the carpet was speckled with dark, sticky-looking stains, like gum, though it seemed unlikely that so many people would have let the gum fall out of their mouths while off-track betting. 5 men, each alone, sat hunched at the counters below the televisions. While Macham went to get beers, George and I sat at a rickety table. The events pictured on the television screen seemed very, very far away. Warmer weather, brighter time zones. 3 banks of screens showed horses, and one showed dogs. Macham returned and we clinked bottles. The men leaned over little pieces of paper, twirling their pencils. I caught a contact high from their excitement. I say the Blunton Maiden Standard, Macham announced. The track in Scotland's iffy in the winter, George said. The trifecta, Macham said. You're crazy. As a spectator, I was enjoying the words more than the idea of gambling. They serve hard alcohol here, I asked. Yes, Macham said. Chart King first, he asked George. I went to the span of blue pebbled formica that served as a bar. How much for a large glass of vodka? I asked the woman who was guarding the hot dogs. Back at the table, Macham was belaboring his choices. Second and third are tricky, he mused. He slid the paper over to me. Just pick the names you like. I scanned the sheet. I like moral standards, I said. No, forget that. I like moaning lass more, and Ringa hustle the most. I sipped the vodka and winced. I'm in too, I said. Make a bet for me. I wasn't normally a gambler. I thought of myself as a risk taker, but the one time I'd been to Vegas with Ajay, he was the one calculating odds at the blackjack table while I nursed a slot machine. Amazingly, we hit. Chart King, Moaning Lass, and Ringa Hustle, 1, 2, 3. 2 of my truck dollars magically turned to 200. Good luck, girl, Macham cheered. We're going to the club tonight. Feeling of being lucky can sometimes substitute for the feeling of being good. I had felt bad for so long. Objectively, I was buying a shitty truck from 2 guys willing to rip me off, drinking third-tier booze at an off-track betting parlor, which made me feel free. But then winning the bet was lucky, and being lucky felt similar enough in that moment to being good. I had done a good thing, choosing the right enslaved dogs in a muddy race in Scotland based on the resonance of their names. And the combination of feeling free and also feeling lucky was incredible.
Our final reader, Devon Walker-Figueroa. I've been following Devon's work since her debut poetry collection, Philomath, and it's an honor to have had the chance to spend time with and publish her novella, Hold Harmless, in her latest issue. While emailing back and forth with Devon about final edits, she shared that, though her story is set in Oregon, she wrote it while living in Portugal, noting that nothing sharpens one's perception of home than to be far from it. In that simple sentence, Devon managed to explain the complex relationship between home, longing, and deep observation that her work so often conveys. Hold Harmless immerses the reader in a particular physical and emotional landscape. It's the kind of story that is so specific you feel certain upon reading it that no one else could have written it but Devon. Devon Walker-Figueroa is the author of Philomath and Lazarus Species, which comes out in a couple weeks. When's the pub date?
It's November 18th.
November 18th, so be on the lookout, okay? Thank you, here's Devon.
Because I'm shorter. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Rachel, and for your sensitive edits on the piece as well. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all in this space tonight, celebrating a space for sustained attention, which feels rare these days. So I just want to thank you, everyone at Ploughshares, for continuing to give that space life and give us a chance to inhabit it. I look forward to this issue every year and have for years, and it's a tremendous honor to be a part of this one. I'll just say really quickly, because I'm gonna, I'm also gonna skip around a little bit. All you need to know to fill in the blanks is that Wayne is Ronnie's dad, and Dill is a dog that Alma brings into a house that is not her own, and which the owner lets out, beknownst only to himself, is a secret. Okay, on that note, and I just think better with a pen in my hand, so sorry about that. Hold Harmless. I'll check the time here. Make sure I don't go over. Okay. There you go. There we go. All right. Hold Harmless. The only thing visibly wrong with her was her weight, which was tremendous. I see her on the hunt, he said, and waved her torn resume in the air between them. While the FedEx clerks were turned, he'd plucked it from recycling. Something about the systolic din of printers emboldened him. You see right, she said. Guess that means you see I'm disabled, too. Smallest of sneers. The flesh on her legs resembled flowstone he'd once seen in a cave. I saw the government subsidizes your wages, if that's what you mean, he said, with a friendly yet professional smile. I'd love to hear the story. In her left hand, a stapler, which she gently squeezed and released. It was leashed to the table behind her. It's more of a chain. She glanced down at his dull loafers and back up at his clean-shaven face. Reaction than a story. Tell you what, how about I buy you breakfast down at Original Pancake, and we talk about your qualifications? You're hiring then? Might be. He reached into his sports coat, which was pilled under the right arm, and withdrew an ivory business card with a brown-covered wagon printed on its back, Delano Morales, and Land Planning and Development Consultant, printed on the front. A fluorescent bulb dimmed overhead. What do you know? She narrowed her eyes at the foreign-looking name. And what might I call you? Well, I'd have thunk you already knew that, Mr. Morales. She waited for a response that didn't come. Then, Alma here. When he took her hand to shake it, it was so damp and cool he nearly shuddered. His father, a cruel drunk who disowned him over a matter of $50, would have said a damp palm was a sign of conniving, but Delano was above such crude and backward suspicions. Look out for the least of these, he said to himself as he exited the FedEx. The pancake house was teeming with after-churchers, blue hairs, Delano's bread and butter, squinted at menus they'd memorized years ago. Children, all wiggles and yawns, slid from their seats and crouched beneath tables, threatening sleep, and an army of middle-aged businessmen clad in putty-colored suits punctuated the steady hum of conversation with crashes of laughter. The waitresses were pinafored and adorned in little white caps that called to mind nurses from bygone wars. They bounced around the room, remembering to smile. The only reason Alma and Delano had even gotten a seat was because he was thick as thieves with the hostesses. He'd predicted correctly they'd be allowed to cut the line, and he'd wanted Alma to see it. Was pleased she had. So what's your situation, if you don't mind my asking? He turned his coffee cup upright and lifted his hand in the air, hoping a waitress might see. Alma fixed him with her hazel eyes, anger and exhaustion. They'd etched their twin signatures into her forehead. I have a boy enrolled in South, Ronnie. He's a sophomore. Good student, too. He's got an A in algebra right now. You must be proud. He nodded thoughtfully. Now, is Ronnie short for Ronald? It is, but he doesn't like to be called by his full name. Reminds him of his daddy, and they don't get on too good. So his father's out of the picture then. Out of my picture. I take your meaning. So I'm just trying to support me and him, but the job market's not so hot, as you surely noticed, being the observant sort you are. It hasn't escaped me, no. He wondered if she'd been thinking of Ronald when she trashed those perfectly usable resumes. I'm sorry to hear about the father. Real shame. Boy needs a solid father figure in his life. Well, Ronnie'd been without one of those so long now, I guess he's pretty used to it. She snorted a little, as if she were amused or annoyed. Delano couldn't tell. A waitress appeared at the table and drew a green guest check from her apron. Apologies for the wait. What can I get you for? She asked, beaming a smudge of red on her front teeth. Dutch baby, Alma said, and a side of bacon. Perfect, said the waitress. But she could see these were the sort who might take a wait time personal. Just to warn you, Dutch babies are a half hour. It says so on the menu. We got time, Delano answered. Northwest griddle for yours truly. And what's this I see about seasonal fruit? Peaches, the woman said brightly, from down Turner. Family operation. Served up with cream. And then added, my little one's favorite. Though the child had just turned 12, tips had a way of going higher when she said, little one. An order for the table. He snapped his menu shut with definitude and handed it to the waitress, then smiled to soften the gesture. He didn't know why he'd snapped it like that, only that it made him feel calm after he'd done it. The waitress bounced off toward the kitchen. So what's this with you leaving your receptionist job? Didn't leave, was let go. You know what let go means, don't you? Alma and Ronnie have moved in with Delano. and Alma's taking care of a undesirable tax situation for Delano. Alma had never wanted to be an accountant, but a high school math teacher, and she might have done, if not for Wayne and his smooth talk and his self-pronounced fetish for folds of fat, like there wasn't enough of her when he met her. He'd sit there all puppy dog-eyed, watching her lift French fries to her mouth, drooling, it seemed to her, not over any food, but over watching her eat. And so she gained, and her period had went strange, her moon, Wayne called it, like some damn hippie. And it took her 4 months to even know little Ronnie was growing in there, quietly preparing for life. They talked of ending it, that life. But so late on it would have been hard, and so much money as they couldn't rustle together, not that fast anyway. And then one day it seemed there was too much of her, or maybe not enough, or he'd outgrown his fetish. Or maybe it was Ronnie was the too much part of the equation, a breaking off from her that Wayne just couldn't show up for. Fatherhood and nonsense, like employment, the man would not grow into. She lifted her third cruller to her mouth. It was cheap. She knew that. Just more cheap crap Del pretended was fancy, considered her somehow in debt to him for. Even so, it was sweet and awfully wonderful. The smallest hint of lemon in the dough, the glaze just right, not too thick or too thin. She hated that she thought it was good. Wished she had the strength to flush them all straight down the toilet like she'd done with those god-awful neon cupcakes he brought in from the discount grocers. Colors like they got spray painted by some gang. What a joke. Like because she was fat, she didn't know what good food was when he was the one that didn't know good from trash. She looked down at the tax sheet and the mound of damp, dusty checkbook stubs he'd left her with. He should have left her with one of those surgical masks while he was at it, so as her lungs wouldn't get full of mold dust. Records hauled out of the attic. Never in her life had she seen taxes as mangled as these. Entire sale of the house hardly accounted for, and that 6 years ago. The tax man said, bad faith, when she finally rang him on the phone, and she got where the man was coming from. Some people got no sense, she told him, no sense for numbers or much else. And the man had said, true, like he knew just what she meant. The way Del talked, you'd think he was some kind of victim, though, when the only victim she saw in plain sight was her and Ronnie. Picked her up like a stray cat from a ditch, late on wages, had her fronting groceries half the time, asking her to do house chores like she was his goddamn janitor, or better yet, wife. Couldn't even pour his own water. Poor woman, probably grateful to be gone. Alma lay odds. He talked to the wife the way he talked to clients, or when you got him on the ropes, fake as hell, like he could flip a switch and talk himself somewhere above you. Appendices this, fouling that, wind and more wind, when anybody else would just say shit. The balloon payment was coming due. She knew that. Knew Del had set aside for it, big money, enough for a down payment on a house for her and Ronnie. What a waste it had to go to that. Back taxes, penalties. They wouldn't forgive him too much on that score. Some days she wanted to tell Del what Wayne told her. The mud what made you never leaves you. Wanted to tell him people smelled it on you, like your home got down deep in your pores so as you couldn't scrub it. He could try and use her and Ronnie like some damn yardstick, show himself how far he'd got from whatever dirt pit hatched him out, but his math was all wrong. And Alma, her nose was better than good. Could smell a fortune on a man with tore-up jeans, well as she could smell debt on a man in a fine-cut suit. She took another bite and set herself back to typing numbers into cells, set herself back to reading Del's awful hand, so many fives that looked like sixes, while his sixes were the spitting image of his zeros. Outside, the wind couldn't make up its mind. A dog was barking somewhere far off in the trees, and Ronnie was threading the 2 O's of an antique climbing harness with his skinny, blue-jeaned legs. There you go, Delano praised. She just about fits perfect, wouldn't you say? I'm not sure, it feels a little loose, and Ronnie raised up the waistband, which was made of seatbelt material, and let it drop back to his hips where it caught and dangled a little precariously. You have to have room to move around, said Dell. Trust me, it's fine. Go on, shake your hips and see. The boy awkwardly rocked his hips around like a phantom hula hoop encircled his waist, and from the harness fell a strange and jangly music. Dell's own father had never supplied safety equipment, no matter how loathsome the task he put his kids to. Hell or high water, the father would say to them, as if that annulled every grievance before it could even be uttered. Perfect day for a little roof scaling, isn't it? Ronnie stopped his odd dance short and looked up at the sky. The harness hung at a slant from one hip bone. I do see what you mean there. Dell cut a free length of rope from the coil at his feet, threaded it several times around the waistband of the harness, disappeared behind the house, returned, and with a shiny staple gun in hand, proceeded to fasten the rope ends in place. That should do you. Back in the day, if a varsity ring didn't fit a girl, she'd wrap yarn around the band until it did. That's where I got that particular trick from. And he winked at Ronnie, but the boy didn't catch it because he was busy tucking his huge red flannel shirt, formerly Dell's, into his jeans in hopes the new trappings wouldn't rub him raw.